Hi everyone, welcome back. This is Monument. My name is Zane and today we'll be having a look at Airspeeder. So Airspeeder is a series, a EV flying car series. So an electric flying car series, to make it short. In the most basic terms, Airspeeder is Formula E in the air because Formula E is Formula Electric. That's the most simplistic way of thinking of Airspeeder. So first thing to understand is that it's the world's first fully functioning electric flying racing car. So this vehicle was designed by Al designed Airspeeder and it's the MK3. That's a full-size and remotely operated the electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicle. That's EVTOL. They will race in remotely piloted Airspeeder competition in 2021. This first racing series will stand as a technical testbed and feeder series to MAN Racing Series in 2022. So in the most basic term, this year, 2021, they'll be starting with remotely operated vehicles. This will help them determine the challenges that will go into next year, which is 2022, when these vehicles will be raced by actual human beings in the cockpit. And as a Formula One fan, let me assure you, these sports are extremely dangerous because this vehicle can travel up to 150 miles per hour. And that's in the sky. So you can imagine there has to be an abundance of safety features that have to be considered for this series. And honestly, as a new sport, I can seriously see this sport having a lot of challenges around safety, but hopefully as the remotely operated vehicles start racing this year, perhaps we'll get a great idea of what it will be like when actual people are in these vehicles. Now it's a promising sport, and this is good because everyone wants to go carbon neutral, everyone wants clean air, and everyone is trying to go electric. And Tesla is leading the way with electric cars. The question is, will Airspeeder be that company that can help lead the way into electric flying vehicles? And there's been a handful of companies that's been working on flying cars for decades. There's a handful of companies that's been working on drones for decades, including Facebook and Amazon. And there's companies out there that have been working on flying electric taxis. And a company and program and sports such as Airspeeder is just going to promote this idea a lot more, and it's going to help elevate the idea a lot more. Just by looking at this vehicle, I'm instantly fascinated. I'm instantly amazed because I would like to race this vehicle. I would like to pilot this vehicle. These are electric flying cars, electric vehicles in the sky that could be piloted by a licensed professional, providing you can acquire your license. If this technology does prove to be very viable, I can seriously see this thing taking off in the future. It's also interesting to add that Airspeeder does actually have a lot of sponsors. Sponsors such as the famous watch brand IWC, Schaffenson, HWL, Equals, and Arcanis. So into the more exciting information. Now it's interesting to note that there's a full grid of MK3 electric flying cars that are currently being manufactured at Airspeed and Alada's technical headquarters in Australia. Now over 10 identical racing vehicles will be created and distributed to teams in 2021. And I've got to say, I'm making this video halfway in 2021. This is currently in June. If this thing actually happens for the rest of the year, I will be excited to see this in action. So the flying cars is being developed and manufactured by a team drawn from the leading names in aerospace, automotive and motorsport technology, including McLaren, Babcock Aviation, Boeing, Jaguar and Land Rover, Rolls-Royce and Brabham. Now the remote piloted race series will be introduced close quarter flying circuit racing at speeds of more than 120 kilometers, that's 75 miles per hour. But obviously, as I mentioned before, these vehicles actually have the potential to hit 150 miles per hour and possibly higher. So the future is definitely now, and we can see that because they've got active prototypes that they've shown off multiple times. So Alada's Airspeeder MK3 represents a huge technical advantage in the development of world's first racing series for electric flying cars. This remotely piloted vehicle is a final iteration of an electric flying racing car before the introduction of manned racing craft, the Airspeeder Mk4, which will debut in 2022. And I can't wait to see the Mk4, which is basically the upgrade, which is basically the manned aircraft. There will be a cockpit. There'll be space for an actual human being for pilots. And let me just remind you, this space for the pilot has to be fitted with some of the most advanced safety systems for any piloting aircraft. Now, in regards to the Mk3, which is the current model, which is the model they'll use for remotely piloting racing, this will be operated by expert remote operators from the ground, and it features a suite of technology and engineering elements that have never been seen on an eVTOL craft. So these innovations will be validated in its first unmanned phase and include a LiDAR and radar collision avoidance system that will create a virtual force field around the craft to ensure that close but ultimate safe racing. This is actually quite interesting because I was worried about this. You know, in racing series, like cars racing series, vehicles hit each other all the time because they're driven by human beings. And human beings can make mistakes, but most of the times, professional drivers do try to avoid collisions for many reasons, including safety aspects. And it also will drastically reduce the chance of you winning any actual race. But with this flying electric vehicle, with the Mk3, it actually has LiDAR, it actually has sensors, and it's said to create a virtual force field around the aircraft to ensure that close but ultimate racing stays safe. This is amazing. I really want to see this in action. I want to see how they will integrate this for the viewers. So some more fascinating things about this vehicle is that it features a carbon fiber frame and fuselage chosen its strength, stiffness, and lightweight properties, which will ensure maneuverability, performance, and efficiency. This is really good. Carbon fiber is used in a lot of different sport, motor racing sport, because it's a lightweight material and it's actually really strong. And a lot of F1 cars do use carbon fiber quite a lot because it's strong, it's good for aerodynamics, and it's extremely lightweight. It just works really well in racing cars. So introducing it into an electric flying car, that's actually quite fascinating. And let's not forget, carbon fiber is actually extremely expensive. So you must consider these aircrafts, they're going to be extremely expensive. But of course, there'll be different teams. And I'd like to see these teams be some of the biggest manufacturers in the world. So something interesting that I noticed about this vehicle, the Mk3, and I did some research on it, is that it's laid out in an octocopter X formation. This provides a significant advantage to pilots in terms of maneuverability and stability. So you'll actually notice that the pilot is actually sat to the rear of the vehicle, which means that there's a huge nose. This is mostly done so the pilot has a lot more control over the actual vehicle. It might not make any sense to me or you because we're not pilots. Unless you are a pilot, then I do apologize. But this vehicle is not just an aircraft. You got to remember, this vehicle is built for racing. It has to be fast. The pilot itself, the pilot has to understand how to get the best speed out of this vehicle. So putting the pilot in the right position of this vehicle is absolutely key. And they've chosen to put the pilot at the rear of the vehicle, which means that most of the time when the pilot is entering in and out of maneuvers, the pilot has to focus mostly on the front of their vehicle. And it just so happened that they can see the majority of that vehicle because they're literally sat at the tail of the vehicle. This gives them a unique perspective, and it's unlike any other racing series because many other racing series, including Formula 1 car, they have a huge engine at the back and they've got a huge wing. So the driver is actually in the middle of the vehicle. But in this vehicle, the Mk3, the driver is actually closer to the rear. It's a fascinating thing to think about, and it's going to be interesting to see how this impacts the sport. How will this impact the pilots? And will the pilot actually like it? Will they adapt well to it? And I'd like to see from their experience what it's actually like to be flying vehicles as a sport. This is absolutely amazing, and I can hardly believe I'm alive to see something like this. I'm extremely fortunate, and I just got to be grateful and thankful. Now, when racing, the pilot will be able to make the same sharp hairpin style turn as in Formula 1 car, but with the added third dimension of being able to move vertically. because it's an aircraft. The octocopter configuration also adds an important measure of vehicle redundancy and will ensure the craft can safely land and remain in control should a rotor or a battery system fail. This is fascinating, and this is really good for safety aspects. I'm really glad to see that they're taking a lot of these things into consideration, because having a human being up in the air trapped in a metal container can be quite dangerous if the engine fails. Now let's get on to the beginning of this company. Aeronautics founder Matthew Pearson comments, "The unveiling of the world's first full-size electric flying car is a landmark moment in the dawn of a new mobility revolution. It is competition that drives progress, and our racing series, hastening the rivals of technology, will transform clean air, passengers transport, logistics, and even advanced air mobility for medical applications. The world's first electric flying cars will take place this year and will be most exciting and progressive motorsport in the planet." And I agree. This is something that we dreamt about as children, but we never actually thought it's going to happen anytime soon. Because we've heard the story of flying cars before. They come into trend and they leave. They come into our mind and they leave. Companies try and then they fail. But for once, it's actually happening. They've actually got prototypes. The racing series is set up. The vehicles are being developed. This is super exciting, and I cannot wait to see this series live. So I've got some interesting information on Alada Aeronautics, and it was founded by Matt Pearson, as I said previously, but it was actually founded in 2016. This is almost 5 years ago. It puts a lot of things in perspective because it just shows you how much time and engineering is needed for a project such as this. With the emergence of electric vertical takeoff and landing, aircraft startups taking place around the world right now, this company is not looking at Uber air mobility, but instead has a goal to build the first eVTOL flying race car and to start the world's first flying cars event on a global scale. And this is the exact same event that these vehicles will be taking place in 2021, unmanned aircraft in 2021, and in 2022 these would be piloted by actual people in the cockpit. So this is Airspeeder EXA series. So Airspeeder has actually came a long way from the Mark 1, and the Mark 1 had 4 vertical propellers with a single pilot and is designed significant as a race vehicle. Now I'm not sure when the Mark 1 prototype was actually made or completed, but interestingly, the Mark 1 uses 2 forward and 2 rear vertical propellers and 4 custom 50 megawatt brushless motors. It is powered by the same battery employed by Tesla S. That's a Tesla Model S. And I find that really interesting that they're using the same technology, because as we all know, if you're a Tesla fan, you probably will know that Tesla batteries are actually developed by Tesla through a partnership that Tesla has with Panasonic. So it's interesting that Airspeeder is using the same technology. This gives me hope. This gives me positive feelings. This actually makes me very excited. Anything that links this company to Tesla or Tesla technology gives me confidence, because I've got a lot of confidence in Tesla and what they're capable of. And any company that take the same strategy as Tesla or the same philosophy or a similar philosophy, I'm automatically interested and about these amazing technology that's actually changing our world. So I do feel like projects like these, they simply don't get the credit they deserve. But still, it'd still be nice to see the support that we finally have electric flying cars. Not just flying cars, but they're electric. And if these things prove to be successful, I can guarantee you they're going to be a lot more popular than just a sports series. These things could change the way how we live, because I can guarantee you, if I have to put down a deposit to buy one of these vehicles, I won't even hesitate, because I think all human beings have a fascination with flying. Even if you have a small amount of fear factor in height, because a lot of people do, and that's fine. But as human beings, we're still fascinated with the idea of flying. It's always been in our nature to develop technology to take us to that new frontier. And finally, we're getting there with flying vehicles such as Airspeeder. Bravo, that's what I've got to say to the Airspeeder team. If they're watching this video, thank you for your hard work and your patience as well. And I hope this pays off, because it absolutely should. It's revolutionary, and I think people are going to love this series a lot more than you could ever imagine. Now I'll take you back to 2018. They had designed several new Airspeed models with 8 propellers, 2 on each corner of the aircraft. Now the new models for the Airspeeder are the Mk2 for 2019. Those were 2019 models, so they're not really new anymore because we're in 2021. And they've got the Mk3 as we know. And next year, they'll have the Mk4. Now the Mk3 model and the Mk4 is slated for 2020. But obviously the Mk4 is currently in development, still in development. They're all being built actually, so their development is actually finished. They're being built for teams. And these models, both the Mk3 and Mk4, will feature 8 propellers each. That's amazing. That's 4 propellers on top and 4 propellers on the bottom. Charfus Ascent becomes Airspeeder engineering and time partner. They are a famous watch manufacturer and brand, and to partner with Airspeed as engineering and time partners is incredible to say the least. I'm glad that they have so much powerful backers. Now both companies share the technological process, human endeavor, and sustainability, and that's important. So both companies are engaging and striving for the same thing. So in basic terms, they both have the same vision. And that's good overall. That's exactly what we want to see. Now these companies, they'll work together in pioneering the new form of motorsport to fast track a new era of clean air mobility. And IWC CEO Christoph Greiner speaks on the exciting new partnership. So this was my video on Airspeeder and the racing series EXA series. So thank you all for watching this video. As it develops, I'll keep you up to date. I will make new videos on Airspeeder, and as the series start, I will also make new videos. Any update in the news, I'll always be making updated videos. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you'd like to get more information about the company, you can visit their website and social media platform to discover more information about the company and its partners and the CEO and its founders. So I really enjoyed making this video. This is highly advanced technology. I love technology in all ways. I love engineering and I love electric advancement. So anything in this area is always going to excite me. So I really like making this video because it gave me a lot of insight. So it's a little bit different, but I absolutely love making this video. This is probably my favorite video to make so far. Doing my research about Airspeeder, I didn't expect it to be this good. It just excites me, it surprised me, and I'm seriously looking forward to see how well they do in the future and how well they develop.